A very special edition of Xperience Sessions right here on indigomusic.com. I'm Rohit, and joining me is yet another independent artist, Rahul Advani. Welcome to indigomusic.com.
Thanks, Rohit. Thanks for welcoming me.
Rahul, I was just having a chat with you before we started the video about your brand new single and the video. We'll get to that in a bit,
Yes.
but I want to know, when did the bug of music bite you?
So I've sort of been bitten by the bug for a very long time. I've been singing, I think, ever since I was a kid. And what really, I think, really started my love of music was sort of growing up with, Disney films like, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Pocahontas, Hercules. It was the music of those movies that I think really captured me, and that's what really got me into singing. And then a little bit later, when I started getting into pop music, I remember the very first music video I ever remember seeing was Black or White by Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson. Yeah.
And from then on, I was like, yeah, this is it. This is I want to sing. And so I kind of sang pretty much throughout school. In school they did lots of musicals, and I took part in those. And I think where things really sort of took a turn and I really began to take singing a bit more seriously was, so I was like sort of grew up and pretty much spent most of my life in Singapore.
Right.
And in my last year of high school, there was a nationwide competition in Singapore for a charity concert. And I took part in that. I remember I went for the audition and I can't remember what I sang. I sang something, but then the judges said, "Can you sing You Raise Me Up by Josh Groban?" So I said, sure, and I sang it.
Right.
And then it was after that I got through. I got into the show and I got to sing for the president of Singapore.
Wow.
Yeah, which was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And that's where it kind of really began. And since then, I've never really stopped singing.
That's fantastic, especially singing, to the president of Singapore is just crazy.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you will be doing the same in India as well, singing to the Prime Minister and President.
I hope so.
Now let's address the elephant in the room. Your brand new single. It's your debut single, in fact. It's called Ready to Breathe. What is the single all about, and when did the creative process behind the single?
So I actually this is my first single, but it's not my first piece of music that I've released.
Right.
So in 2014, I wrote an album called Night Stories, and I put that out as one sort of piece of music. And it was after that, putting it out there, that I sort of had hit a bit of a creative roadblock.
Right.
And I wasn't able to write songs for the longest time. And it was Ready to Breathe. That was the first song that I wrote after that period of not being able to write anything. And Ready to Breathe was really about, I think, something that a lot of us can relate to, which is sort of when you feel stuck or when you feel trapped. And in anything, whether it's, a job, a situation, a relationship, or just sort of the expectations that people have of you, and realizing that, it's okay to not always have to live up to those pressures. It's okay to just do what makes me feel free and take things at my own pace.
Right.
And I think that's kind of how the song really began, because there was so much pressure on me to try and write a song, and to, I had an idea of what a song should be like, and then the song kind of just flowed. And that's how it came about. And so I think I wrote it in 2016, quite a while ago.
Yeah.
And it was a long journey of recording the song, because I wrote it and then I didn't do anything with it for years. And it wasn't really actually until I moved to India that this song then came back into my life.
Right.
So I moved to India. After my first EP, I started doing a PhD.
Okay.
And that PhD it was in anthropology, and they required me to spend a year in India doing field work. So I moved to Pune in I think end of 2016. I moved.
Right.
And it was at that point that, my first EP had come out a year ago, wasn't really doing much with music. Ready to Breathe, I had written it, but it was sitting on my computer. I wasn't doing anything with it.
Yeah.
And I was kind of writing songs at the time. And when I moved to Pune, I met someone there, and he said, "Oh, do you know that there's a singing competition that happens every year in Pune, and you sing, why don't you take part?" And so I said, "Sure." And so I found out about the competition, got in touch with the organizers, and I said, I've just moved to Pune, can I take part in this competition? They said, "Sorry, the competition slots closed weeks ago, maybe next time." And then a couple of weeks later, I get a phone call, and I picked it up, and it was from the competition. They said, "You're in luck. Somebody just dropped out of the competition. There's a free slot.
Yeah.
Do you want to do it?" So I said, "Sure, absolutely." And they said, "Okay, it's now." I was like, "Okay." They're like, "Yeah, you need to get to the venue in like the next hour." So I got together a song, went through the venue, managed to get through the first round. And then a couple of weeks later, the finals happened. And somehow, I don't know how it happened, but I won.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think it was at a time that I had I guess I'd sort of lost a little bit of confidence in myself as a singer at that point. And so that really, I remember when I was on the stage singing in that final, that I felt a real sense of connection, which I hadn't felt in a long time. And it was great because one of the judges of that competition was a singer-songwriter who I was following for a very long time, Tejas Menon.
Right.
He's an incredible songwriter. And he, after the competition, he said, "Rahul, are you writing any of your own music?" And so I said, "Yeah, I've been writing some stuff, but I don't know if I'm doing anything with it." So he said, "Okay, send it to me." And so I remember I sent him a couple of songs, and then the moment he heard Ready to Breathe, he said, "Rahul, get into the studio and record it now, because you need to do this." And that was really like the confidence that I needed. Just someone to kind of just believe in me. And
a push is what...
Yeah, a push was all I needed. And he heard something in that song, which at the time I didn't. And then I remember thinking, yeah, why haven't I recorded the song? I should do something with it. And then that's how the journey of this song began. And
no wonder that Tejas has his part in the song as well, with backing vocals, and of course Mali as well.
Yes.
We play her tracks on air as well. So that's great. Now you also have a fantastic video, which it's raw. It's something that everybody went through during the lockdown, and you have Vidyut Gargi on it from Amazon Prime. Who's done a fantastic job as well. I mean, it's kind of funny, the way he's trying to do yoga and he fails at it and things like that.
Yeah.
How did this idea of the video, whose idea was it?
So I came up with, I remember this was around 2020, end of 2020. It was full lockdown.
Yeah.
And I was actually I remember I had actually traveled outside of India in March 2020. Just before COVID hit, and I was, visiting my parents who stay in the UK. And then when COVID happened, the borders shut. I couldn't come back to India, so I was stuck in the UK.
Right.
And I basically sort of remained there for the whole of COVID. And I was right before COVID, I was trying to make a music video for Ready to Breathe. Which would have been something very different, all in person. I probably would have been in it. And then when COVID happened, I think we all had many things in our mind.
Yeah.
The music sort of put it all aside. And then I think as the year progressed, I started thinking about, okay, if I have to make a music video for Ready to Breathe in a totally new way, what would it be? And I just had this idea, because Zoom had taken over our lives.
Yeah.
We were all on it, and I started thinking, okay, what if it's a music video on Zoom? And it was really inspired by this idea of how I think under lockdown, so many of us were on social media and we were seeing everyone trying to make the most of their time under lockdown and be productive, right? So people were learning new hobbies, baking banana bread, you know, exercising like they've never exercised in their lives, learning new languages. And as great as that was, I think that also put a lot of pressure on many people to do the same. And that made lockdown even more sort of pressurizing. And the song then took on a new meaning. I started thinking about, okay, this song is about freedom and about being able to find your own pace. The video could also be about that. The video could be about this idea of someone who feels so much pressure from work and from what people are doing online, but then eventually he realizes that he feels best when he does what makes him feel free. And that's just rocking out on the air guitar in his bedroom, not caring what other people think. And so that's how the idea for this video came about, that everything would happen through Zoom or through a phone. Yeah, fantastic. I mean, the video is just too good, you know. And what's cooking in the studios of Rahul Advani? What's next? So I actually, along with Ready to Breathe, I recorded 3 other tracks, and they're all part of an EP, which eventually will come out. But this, the next thing that's in store is my next single, which is, so the EP is sort of inspired by the 4 elements of nature, which is, you know, fire, water, earth, wind. And Ready to Breathe, no surprises, inspired by the element of air and wind, and the sort of feeling of freedom. Whereas the next single, I don't want to give away the name yet, but it's inspired by the element of water. And the way that water...
Is this track named Ready to Drink?
No, it's not. It's not. But it's about, you know, it's about resilience and about hope and the fact that, you know, water never stops flowing. Right. And it's a very different, always finds a way, and that's what that song is about. And it's totally different mood from Ready to Breathe, but still very much pop rock song. And I'll be making a music video for that, hopefully the next couple of months.
Fantastic. Well, Rahul, thank you so much for connecting. Thank you so much for taking some time
out
to have this chat. We'll play your tracks on air, and we'll have
great,
you know, catch up once again when the second track releases.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rohit, for having me on Indigo.
Well, it's our pleasure, Rahul. Thank you so much.